Welcome to Rise of Zek's Getting Started Guide for Monsters and Memories. Those of us here at Rise of Zek are having a blast during these playtests, but we know from experience it can be a little bit challenging when you're first starting out. So in this video, we're going to share what we've learned during our time on the playtest. We'll talk about character creation and perk selection, starting spawns, the best places to XP, how to get your money going early, a few important quests you won't want to miss, and finally, crafting. As far as character creation goes, race doesn't matter too much right now in Monsters and Memories since there's only one starting city and the stats are the same across the board. So we're only focusing on what perks you're going to pick for your character. Our go-to loadout is the Magic Resistance Boon, Ultra Vision, and the Lumbering Profession. Magic Resistance is just so nice for clearing off mezzes and roots, and it easily beats out all the other options. It's a bit of a long cooldown on an active ability, but it can save you in a pinch, especially useful if you're on the PvP server. Ultra Vision is damn near mandatory. When it gets dark in this game, it gets dark. Even with Ultra Vision, you'll be straining to see in the dead of the night, and that's before the weather gets bad or a sandstorm blows in. And finally, the Lumbering Profession will start you off with a lumber axe and a very large bag that can hold the wood and resin that comes from chopping trees. The logs you get from lumberjacking will allow you to craft campfires, which are placeable objects that give light and, more importantly, a 15% XP boost as long as you stay nearby. And you'll be doing a lot of grinding, so every bit of XP counts. You can also use the resin to craft torches so you can see at night. Did we mention it gets really dark in this game at night? Once your character is created, you're forced to spawn in Night Harbor, the only starting city available right now in the alpha. Because there's no in-game map feature, remember Monsters and Memories going full old school vibe, we recommend the very solid maps available on the Monsters and Memory wiki page, which we will link in the description below. Here are a few important things to keep in mind. There are two starting spawn points. One is near the north gate and the other is near the west gate, and your spawn is determined by your race and class. Most people tend to do early XPing near the west gate or outside of the SK Necro Guild, so you may need to do a little bit of running if you spawn at the north gate. Every class has spells and or abilities they'll need to buy at some point from their guild, which are located in various places throughout the city. Make sure to refer to the map to find out which one you need to go to so you don't waste time getting lost in what can be a pretty confusing city layout. And finally, bag space and weight are harsh early, and you'll need to haul a lot of stuff that drops off the mobs you're killing back to the vendors to sell to buy your early spells or upgrade your weapons. So expect to be running back and forth a lot, and if you get too heavy, you'll be moving very slow. It's a good idea to spend some of your early silver at the bag merchant in the night market, even if that means holding off on buying a spell or two, so you can carry even more loot to sell in the future. It can be painful early, but it pays off over time. For experience progression, get your first 3 or 4 levels just outside of the west gate or in front of the necropolis inside the city, killing rats, beetles, and skeletons, especially if you see a skeleton carrying a weapon. Around level 3 to 8, we recommend camping the crocodiles. You can find those by making a sharp left just outside of the west gate and running until you hit the coast. You can also move one zone over to the shaded dunes by following the shoreline to find even more crocs. This is especially useful if the starting zone is heavily camped. You'll have more spawns here but a longer run to sell, so it's a trade-off. From 5 to 10, you can kill tons of skeletons in the dungeon Wormsbane Tomb, which can be located by following the right wall out of the west gate until you come to a tunnel. But be ready for lots of trains, especially if there are other groups deeper in the dungeon, as it's pretty easy to overpull here. We prefer to level at the Crypt Ruins or Mercenary camps in the Shaded Dunes rather than Wormsbane. You can comfortably level here from 6 to 10 and then move back into Night Harbor to fight mobs from levels 10 to 15 in the crypt near the tannery. Getting your money in order is probably going to be your biggest hurdle early, especially if you're a caster and need to buy lots of spells. In the early levels, kill all the humanoid and skeleton monsters you find that carry weapons so that you can sell them. One cracked staff can get you up and running pretty well, but a few bagfuls of rusty short swords will get you headed in the right direction. In Monsters and Memories, different merchants pay different prices for items, and most merchants only buy things specific to their job. For example, a baker won't buy your weapons and a blacksmith isn't interested in raw animal meat. There are shady merchants in a few places that will buy everything, but don't be tempted. In exchange for the convenience, they give very bad prices. Whatever time you lose from running to the right merchant, you'll make up for in having to grind way less mobs for the same amount of gold. Once you've farmed up a few levels and a couple of silver, check out the quest in the next section for the next step in your money progression. There are a few decent starter quests in Monsters and Memories, but the most important one that's worth doing early gives 50 silver and a nicely statted two-hander weapon as a reward. It requires 2 silver to purchase the required quest item, and it takes about 30 minutes to complete, but we think it's definitely worth the investment. It requires you to run out of the north gate to the quarry in Sungreet Strand, and you'll have to run back to the city as the first step and then back out to the quarry again. So it's a lot of running around, but it's definitely worth the time once you have the 2 silver you need to purchase the quest item. The quarry is a bit of a high level area, so you or someone in your group will need to be able to cast Invis, but if you do that and take it slow and steady, you'll come out way ahead. Honorable mention goes to the quest that gives you a free bag if you talk to the shady merchant in the leveling area outside of the west gate. Just hail him and say I'm interested, and that sweet inventory space is all yours. Crafting is extremely important in Monsters and Memories for late game progression, but even in the early game, crafting can help you get ahead. We talked already about the benefits of being able to chop down trees to craft campfires, so we won't repeat that here, but additionally, getting a pickaxe early and doing some mining and then smelting the ore can let you make some pretty decent starter gear, especially for the plate classes. You can also create sharpening stones to upgrade rusty weapons that you'll be using into their tarnished versions for a decent DPS upgrade. It's not spectacular, but it beats out most anything else you'll be able to get your hands on at this level. Later game, having access to a jeweler is pretty much mandatory, and that pairs very well with mining since that's where the jewels come from. So if you're already going down that road, considering doing a little jewel crafting as well. Based on our experiences and talking with others who've played in the various playtests, we estimate it will take over 275 hours of straight XPing to get to level 60. So the name of the game is efficiency. Currently, groups of 2 to 3 are best for XPing, and adding more people to the group slows this down significantly. We think the developers will be changing this, hopefully soon, but for now, try to duo or trio for best results. Base mana regen in the game sucks, so keep that in mind when building a group. Melee groups or mana regen buffs will be very helpful, especially in longer grinding sessions. And there's a lot of running around, especially in the early game, so we suggest you have a druid, shaman, or bard for move speed buffs. Basically, Monsters and Memories is a game designed by sadists and targeted at masochists. If you made it this far into the video, you'll probably be right at home. We hope this video eases the pain just a little, if that's what you're into. Either way, make sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more Monsters and Memories and other MMO content, and good luck with the grind.